Good evening and welcome to the Cleveland Sports Realm, episode 92, in honor of Desmond Bryant, former Browns defensive lineman, who was pretty good. Good free agent signing here, played well here, and then they cut him because he had too much talent to play for the Browns.
Well, he had a famous mugshot, too, remember?
That was not with the Browns.
I know, but his time in Oakland, I want to say he was in Oakland when that happened.
All right, that's irrelevant.
I mean, it's relevant. It's the player of the episode that we're doing. I mean, I wouldn't have just brought up Desmond Bryant's mugshot if you didn't just say that the episode was in honor of him.
All right, well, fair enough. His time in Cleveland was very good, so I appreciate Desmond Bryant for all he did for the Browns. Anyhow, this is the 92nd episode, and I'm actually going to put it out right out front tonight and tell everybody to go ahead and like and subscribe this podcast.
Yeah.
Do
it before you listen.
Yeah, we do. So if you make it, because I don't know who's making it all the way to the end. So if they start in the beginning,
I believe all of our listeners do.
Maybe.
I mean, we're too entertaining to not.
Hopefully. So yeah, make sure you like and subscribe this podcast.
Helps us out.
Also, the way that you'll be able to, if you found us, tell a friend. Get more people on board for the Cleveland Sports Realm.
Yes.
So we're here. Derek's over there. Off to my left here in Studio D. And
nice.
So that's where we're coming to you from on this Wednesday, August 19th, I believe.
Yes.
And the Browns are the only team in the NFL without a starting quarterback. So do we want to begin with the Browns?
I would say so.
All right. And then what I had here planned this evening, Kevin, was, and Kevin honestly doesn't know this, to be honest with you.
We had an entire car ride over here, and you didn't spoil anything, evidently.
No, I didn't. But what we have planned for this evening is we're going to get a little Browns, talk about the NFL news that Roger Goodell made yesterday, the headlines and the big waves that he made with the European entertainment.
Potential existence in the NFL.
Yes.
Expansion.
Yes. But that he made, headlines in Europe that quickly got back to North America. And then we'll finish up with a little bit of Guardians. So, Kevin, let's start with the Browns. We didn't want it to happen, me personally, but Deshaun Watson did take the field.
Yep.
And honestly, I will say there was one throw he made that I thought was pretty good to Concepcion. He still can't throw the ball over the middle of the field, it appears, because he hardly did that. He also still can't throw the ball past 10 yards, just like the last time we saw him. There was some good. Like I said, he made a nice throw to Concepcion. They didn't really seem to have any issues with procedure with the new line, which I'll give him some credit for because he is the quarterback. And he had another nice throw, I believe, to Denzel Boston that I was impressed with. But besides that, he fumbled. He can't throw the ball more than 10, or I don't know if he can't, won't, whatever. Incapable, doesn't have the ability. I don't know what actually the circumstance is, but just like when the last time we saw him play football, damn near 2 years ago, he couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field. I don't know if he can't, won't. I don't actually know what the deal is, but to me, that's frustrating and annoying, and I feel justified in saying I don't want him to be a starting quarterback.
Well, was there anything that the other guy did on Saturday that would tell you that you would want him to be the starting quarterback over the first guy?
Yeah, threw the ball more than 10 yards.
He also threw a ball about 10 yards over a receiver's head and was picked.
I will say the throw right away, he came in, he pushed the ball down the field, got it to Luke Floria right away, nice throw.
Yeah, it was.
Couple other nice plays. Now, where I did think that Sanders, obviously the forced overthrow was not good. Each of them had a turnover.
Sanders threw the ball less and had more incompletions. I mean, I'm not making a case for – it's going to sound like I'm making a case for the Albatross over Sanders, but I think the Albatross went in there and basically played the game as conservatively as possible, tried not to turn the ball over. And I will actually say this is going to be a case for the Albatross over Sanders. Slight credit on the fumble. I thought it was more of a line problem, and obviously through training camp, it's been almost 2 years since the Albatross has been on the football field, and he has not been used to over the last 2 years winding back and getting ready to get hit. So I think that's something that can be easily fixed, is just being more aware of the pressure around, because you don't really have to do that in training camp because they're going to let you get the ball off. Whereas in Sanders' case, I mean, he threw a duck 10 yards over the receiver's head. Now, granted, he did push the ball down the field more. Obviously, he threw the ball more than 10 yards on multiple occasions. But to my point, I think Watson played the game more conservatively. Like I said, less incompletions than Sanders on more attempts. And he actually had a couple throws that impressed me. Both of them were to Concepcion. One that was not in double coverage, but it split two defenders. And I thought he managed the offense pretty well outside of the fumble, honestly. My honest, unbiased opinion.
The other thing I'll say that I thought, the Browns line clearly is going to take some time to gel, because there wasn't many holes for any of the running backs to run through, whether it was Judkins, Sampson, whatever. There was not much running room there, so that obviously we're overreacting to one preseason game, but again, it's the only thing we really have to go off of right now, besides practices.
And that's something that we were accustomed to last year, was them not having enough running room, and unfortunately, obviously, and this is through one preseason game, and the Bears don't have a horrendous defense by any means, at least the first teamers that we saw. So maybe week 2 with the Bills coming into town, maybe we see something a little bit differently this week in regards to the success of the running game.
Yeah, we'll see. I think they didn't play Judkins, but more than a series, which is fine. Obviously, people forget he's coming off a huge surgery, so I don't mind that. I have no problem with that. Now, we'll see. Obviously, Gabriel came in. He had a horrible interception too. Mm-hmm. So I think, I know there were some fans and media saying that he should be thrown into the ringer on this competition. I didn't see anything on Saturday that tells me he deserves to be in this competition. Yeah,
I think in order of how the quarterbacks played was in the order that they played. Like, I really think the Albatross looked the best out of the three, then Sanders, then Gabriel, honestly. And I don't take into account, I know a lot of the fan base does, I know a lot of fans do in general, I don't take into account that they're playing with a certain team, like Sanders was playing with the second team. Like, he was also facing second teamers. The Albatross was playing with first teamers. He was facing against first teamers. So I really take into account, like, the quarterback that we see on the field is typically the quarterback that you're going to get.
Yeah, I do take a little bit of that into account, and the reason, because I know that the Bears didn't play as many starters as we did. I know. So quite frankly, maybe the Sanders and Watson should have looked better than they even did, because
sure, yeah, that's a good point.
They're playing a tier ahead. Now, we'll see. This week will obviously be different, because Shedeur Sanders will be out there entirely with all second teamers. The Browns have no plans to play any starters, according to Monken. So, if Sanders looks good, I think it's a huge feather in his cap, because again, he will be playing with all a tier below, second teamers or whatever.
Do we know what will the Bills be playing first teamers or second teamers?
I haven't really heard what Joe Brady's got plans. Now, I would imagine, my personal guess is, and we'll find out more tomorrow, they have joint practices tomorrow and Friday.
Know that, yeah.
So usually when that happens, your first teamers get all their reps in the joint practices, and then they usually sit on their ass for the weekend. So I would imagine, now this is just me surmising what I've seen in the past of these joint practices. I would guess that, basically, I would think that the Bills have no plans of playing any starters.
Yeah, that would be my expectation as well, which in that case, if Sanders went out there with the second unit and the Bills were playing their first unit and Sanders looked great, I would think very highly of his performance. Now, he goes out there, he looks solid with the second teamers, and he's facing the second teamers. I'll still think he looks pretty decent. Like, if he goes out there and has a stat line that the Albatross just had, I think it was 11 of 15, 130 yards, give or take a couple yards, somewhere in there. Like, if he goes out there and does that, I'm going to say it was a good start for Sanders.
Yeah, we'll see. I think,
Now, do you think the Browns are sabotaging Sanders by sending him out there with the second unit again?
I don't think so, but I don't know. It's hard to say. I know Deshaun got reps on Monday when they came back, and it was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be a Sanders day. So like, everything tells me they're going to end up playing Watson, which I'm furious about. But I'm expecting it, but I also think it's the completely wrong call. And good luck again. You guys are hell bent on playing him. Good luck on that first home game. It's not going to be pretty.
I mean, if he starts that game, I mean, that's what the entire fan base is looking at week 3 because that is the first home game. So that's why everyone's saying, well, we'll see where we're at through 2 games. And, obviously best case scenario, they're 2-0. And, I mean, the Albatross, if he rolls out there week 3 and they're 2-0, will still probably receive boos. That's how much this fan base hates the guy. So I think regardless if you roll him out there week 3, even under the best of circumstances, he's going to end up getting booed. And I saw today, you showed me it before. Who was it that tweeted it out about his reaction to the home crowd?
Oh, Scott Petrak from
Scott
the
Petrak.
Elyria Chronicle Telegram, yeah.
Yeah, he had basically asked the question to Deshaun on whether or not, like, what his reaction will be if he goes out there. He didn't use the exact verbiage, like, get booed, but he said the reaction from the home crowd, like, what do you expect it to be, or how do you feel like you're going to react to it? And Watson just said he doesn't care, which is always what you want to hear from your franchise quarterback, right? Is, I don't care what the fans think of me.
Yeah,
I don't care how I'm going to be embraced by the city that I play for.
I don't know. I'm just so upset because I don't think, to me, I don't think that Deshaun looked way better than Shedeur. And if they're even, I think for PR's sake and a sake of a future, you go Shedeur. I
agree.
And they're just not going to do that.
I do think the Albatross played better this past Saturday though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to, I know what all the stats say even, like, during training camp. Like, I know Sanders has, like, a 19-4 touchdown to interception ratio. I want to say both thrown relatively the same amount of passes. It's in the 300s. I think Sanders might have 20 less attempts, but it's basically been a 50-50 split for him. I know Watson does have the edge there. Obviously thrown more interceptions. I want to say he's thrown a couple more touchdowns, but significantly more interceptions, like 5 or 6 more picks as opposed to 3 more touchdowns. But I do think while that does give you context to the practices, I do think that leaves out some context. Like, we both know, and this is something you even admitted to, is that Sanders loves to hold the ball extremely long. Like,
right,
he doesn't want to give up on a play early, which leads to a lot of sacks. And, of course, they don't keep track of potential sacks or what would have been sacks in practice. So maybe those numbers are elevated. Maybe they're not. I'm not saying that Sanders' numbers aren't accurate. I'm just saying there might be a little bit more context as to why they're better. But, the numbers are what they are. So
yeah, and Sanders are better. I mean, the thing I will say, I thought Saturday, looking at it last year, yes, he did hold the ball too long. But I didn't see any plays on Saturday that I can recall. Maybe I'm forgetting a couple where he did that. So
yeah, I don't
he
think
has
so
shown,
either, actually.
He has shown growth in that department.
Yeah, through one preseason game that we've seen, I agree with you.
Right. Now, like I said, I just think it's absurd to not play Shedeur Sanders, and I you know what? I'll try to root for Deshaun Watson, but it's really hard to root for that guy.
Yeah, I mean, like we went over last week, I mean, you're going to end up rooting for him. I know, obviously, with every mistake that he makes, it's going to come with, your big belly laugh that you do, and you point at the TV, oh, this guy's terrible, and you let out that sarcastic laugh that you do, which, I mean, yeah, that comes with the territory, right now. Like, everybody's going to be basically... It's funny because it's going to be that you're rooting for the Browns, but you want him to play bad enough to where you want Shedeur to step onto the field. So it's a weird conundrum that the Browns fans are going to find themselves in.
And it doesn't have to be that way. They're making it that way.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I know I said last week, like, we're going to see a minimum of, I said 6 games from Shedeur, and that's if Watson plays, great through 10 to 11 games, which I don't expect him to. I fully expect Shedeur Sanders to be the starting quarterback by week 5, week 6.
Well, and I will say,
at the latest,
you and I said it last week on the show, and actually I think you were the one specifically who did say, although we had discussed it, and Joe Thomas stole your thunder because he said it Saturday on News 5 on the TV broadcast. it is, and he's right about this. It's really easy to flip from Watson to Sanders, but to flip from Sanders to Watson is not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not, and I don't want to take like full credit for that take because I know I've heard that. I just don't know who has said it. I know that's kind of been an opinion around Cleveland. Is it's way easier to go from Watson to Sanders than Sanders to Watson, and I do think that's the case, but.
Yeah, just because based off, and I know I said this last week, fans should not dictate every move of the Browns, and they shouldn't listen to the fans. You know, as much as we do have a right, you know, for putting up with this nonsense for a quarter century, like we shouldn't dictate every move. But think about this: like if Watson stinks, it's really easy. It's a great PR win for the Browns to be like, all right, let's yank him and get Sanders in there, and the crowd goes wild. Versus if Sanders stinks, he could be really, really bad. And there's people who are way bigger Shador fans than I am who are still going to go nuts and be like, are you kidding me? And Deshaun's going to get booed coming on the field either way, and they're going to boo taking Sanders off the field. So from the PR nightmare that would be replacing
replacing Sanders with Watson would be a PR nightmare.
that's what I'm saying. The
Yeah.
PR nightmare, you could avoid that because whether, and I hate to even put these words out there, but it's true. Whether Watson gets benched because a poor play or gets hurt, which isn't out of the question. I'm not rooting for it. I'll never root for anybody to get hurt. Even as big of a scumbag as he is, I'm not going to root for him to get hurt. But if he does get hurt, which is very, very likely, he has not played a full healthy season in like 6 years. So
Yeah, I mean the season that he played in 2022 was fully healthy, but it was 6 games because the first 11 were under suspension.
Right.
In 2021,
He didn't.
you know what's funny about that is 2021 he was dealing with like all the allegations and stuff, but he was not suspended. He just refused to show up to Houston.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even suspended at that point.
He
It
just
was
took his own PTO.
Yeah, he literally like requested a trade from Houston, said that he didn't think that their images for the future aligned, and then didn't show up to camp while he was dealing with those allegations. And yeah, I want to say he played. I mean, it's pretty difficult for a quarterback to go through a fully healthy year.
No,
like,
it
I feel,
is.
So I feel like it's been a while since we've seen him start. What, 15 plus games, 14?
I think you got to go back to the COVID year.
Yeah, which, like to your point, would be 6 years.
So either way, the chances of him getting hurt are high. Like they are. And I'm not rooting for it by any means, but whether it's because of injury or poor play, the second that he comes off the field and Shador goes onto the field, that's a PR win for your organization. Maybe they're looking at it that way.
Yeah, I also think it'll be one of those things. I think the Browns are going to get roasted regardless, just because I think if you start out the season 0-2, 0-3, and you send Sanders out there, it's going to be, well, you could have started this kid from the get-go. Like, I think no matter what, this is going to be spun horribly for the Browns. I think it does get spun worse if you start Sanders and go to Watson, though,
yeah,
to what
absolutely.
your original point was.
And I will say, I'll be one of those people because
I know.
If let's say Watson gets benched because of poor play and Shador Sanders comes in and lights up the joint.
He even plays average. Let's say he just plays, like, throws for 200 yards, a touchdown, no interception, and they win by a field goal.
Yeah, you're going to have people like me who are going to say, well, how real was the quarterback competition? Was it always conspired to be against Shador and for Deshaun? Because you're already having people ask those questions.
Yeah, I think in every quarterback competition, I do feel like there is a slight edge though that's given out. Don't you think, like, even when Tim Couch and Kelly Holcomb, I mean, we're going back 20 plus years ago when they were battling, like, Tim Couch really always had the edge in that competition. He was the number 1 draft pick from a few years
Go back
prior.
to last year. It was always Joe Flacco's job to lose.
Yeah, even though all the betting sites thought that it was Kenny Pickett for some reason, like, everybody here knew it was going to be Flacco, it seemed like.
Well, I will say, I wonder that edge also had to do with Kenny Pickett tore a hamstring like day 1 of training camp and never got healthy again.
Yeah, well, yes. And I do think it goes to, like, in Joe Flacco's instance, I think there was like a 70% chance that this is the guy we're starting. However, if Gabriel or Sanders or even Pickett, let's say, like, lights it up, then okay, then we have to have a serious conversation. Like,
Right.
I do think this Watson-Sanders battle is more legitimate than last year's
Well,
quarterback
last
battle.
year's quarterback battle was hogwash and horse shit because Kevin Stefanski said all four had a true shot at number one, and Shador never even got a chance to be on the field. He was thrown to the ball boys, literally on the backfield. So how much of a chance did he really have? And even
Oh
Gabriel.
my God, he was a fifth-round rookie with a guy who had led us to the playoffs a couple years prior, and a veteran in Kenny Pickett at that point, and
Like-
a guy that was drafted ahead of him. Like, of course, any fifth-round pick at that point would be like, okay, you're going to get the least amount of reps.
And like Dylan Gabriel, he got some reps too, but even as much as they loved him, he wasn't like. No, I mean there was never really a shot that he was going to be the starter.
No,
from the
yeah, we
get-go.
all knew that, I think.
But yeah, and so that was like Kevin Stefanski's whole, crock of shit he served every day about this is a four-way battle. Dude, it never was. It was always a Pickett Flacco battle, and then the second Pickett tore his hamstring. It was a one-man race. So
No, it was.
Versus this year, I do think that Monken came in kind of open-minded, but I also don't know, it remains to be seen. Did the front office steer their way and say, hey, or did Jimmy Haslam and say, hey, I need something. I've paid this guy at this point. What is it? Because the deal was for 250. So
It was 5 years, $230 million guaranteed, but they keep restructuring it so his cap hit becomes even more significant. I want to say his cap hit this year is between 60 to 70 million.
yeah, so
Somewhere
right.
in there.
So Jimmy Haslam might have maybe forced in his hand, which is crazy though because Jimmy Haslam was the one who basically was like, yeah, it was a swing and a miss, and now all of a sudden they're gonna give him the chance. So.
Which is weird. I mean, it's weird for your owner to come out. It probably was a year ago, right around this time.
It was about a year and a half ago because it was at the NFL owners meetings going into last season, and those typically happen around March. Those are right in the springtime.
Yeah. Because I believe actually when he said it, we had an episode that was literally called Swing and a Miss.
Yes, we did. If you want to go back and listen to it.
I forget what number that was.
Because we literally both said, oh, thank God. Like, they're off board. And then, like, last year, he was around, and then he started coming back to the facility, and then this whole offseason he's been around, and then Todd Monken comes in and said he's going to have a real chance, and it's just like, oh, my God. He is, like, having COVID for 5 years. It is just that brutal. It is miserable. Like
he's a bad penny that keeps turning up. Is what he is.
Yeah, bad penny might be putting it lightly. I did. It was bizarre and it was peculiar to see him on a football field again. It was weird to me.
Yeah, I thought it was weird even in the preseason of 2022. Like I remember watching it, and that first game was coincidentally in Jacksonville, which the first regular season game will be this year. But I thought it was weird when he stepped out onto the field in Jacksonville for the first time in 2022 wearing the brown and orange. I thought it looked bizarre.
And he played terrible that night, if I remember.
Probably. I don't remember him looking good. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. So they play the Bills this week. Like I said, I don't expect any starters to be out there. Hopefully there's only one starter. And that's because I'm still holding out a small sliver of hope that this isn't fixed and Shador will get a chance to start. But
this isn't fixed.
It will see.
You're always looking at this with your Shador colored glasses on.
I just look at it as, one guy has a chance to be the future. One guy is, again, the COVID virus who's just lingering for 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, what are the odds that either of these guys are here next year?
I would say Watson has the less odds, and I'm not being biased.
I do too. I think Watson's at 10 to 15%.
I think you could sign him for a contract extension for 1 year in the veterans minimum, and people are going to go irate.
Yeah. I think there's a 10 to 15% chance he's back. Maybe not even that high, but definitely more significantly more in favor of not being here.
I think Sanders has a damn good chance to be back if he plays well this year.
You think if they draft somebody, and I'm not trying to look too far ahead, but you think if they draft somebody in the first round, a quarterback, that Sanders is even the backup next year? Because I don't think he is.
It would depend. I also think that also would probably be a Monken call, whether Monken would, entertain or want him back as the backup. I think a lot. I mean, it's to me, and I'm not trying to dodge your question. I'm really not. To me,
I know you're not.
I think it's too much unknown. Like, because if Sanders does play well this year, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to bring him back next year. Because
of course.
he's
a fifth round. It's a fifth round contract.
So what total over the course of the 4 years he might be making? What, $4 million? Maybe.
Oh, I don't think it's that low. I think he's making like $1 million plus a year. I think it's probably like a 4-year, $5 million contract.
Right. Okay. So
but yeah,
way,
obviously.
My point being,
yes,
it's for quarterback play. It's like compared to what some of these guys make, it's literally highway robbery. So if they can do that, they will, and I believe that. And now the other interesting one is, like, I was actually campaigning for Gabriel to be the backup last week.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about that because there's a lot of quarterback injuries, and I think if the Browns can get anything of substance or value for him, that he is the guy that they'd move on from. Because obviously, I know that Taylor Green's an athletic specimen. They say he's raw as can be, but I think with Taylor Green, because there is so much intrigue there and so much unknown, I don't think the Browns want to expose him to waivers, because I think if they do, somebody's scooping him up immediately.
Yeah, I do too. And for that team, it didn't cost him a draft pick, which
right.
Is in the back of Andrew Berry's head. I mean, he's always thinking about how to make the most on his investment. So
like, after looking at this a little more unbiasedly, like, I wanted Watson to be the third stringer last week, and I was really adamant about it on the podcast. But like, looking at this a little more objectively, the way that they're treating everybody and the roles they're kind of defining for everybody in draft status and all the other things mixed into the blender of Browns quarterbacks, I think when you press the start button on that blender, it's going to spit you Dillon Gabriel being the one to go.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something, too, that we've talked about. It seems like the two quarterback race, obviously, with Watson and Sanders, it doesn't matter. Like, they're going to be here regardless. And then, as you said, Jerome, with them just recently drafting Taylor Green, it doesn't seem like somebody that they're going to expose to other teams. Like, I think in their ideal world, I do think they'd love to keep all four. But, like, you cannot keep all four on the active roster. It's too many roster spaces that are taken up by a position that you can only play one of. So one has to go. And like you said with exposing him to other teams, there's no way that you're going to have Taylor Green. I mean, their best case scenario is Taylor Green clears waivers and he's on the practice squad. However, that even though he's on the practice squad, other teams can still pick him up. So, and
I'm not trying to be an ass here, but there's a good chance that Dillon Gabriel may not be cleared may clear waivers.
I think he would get. I think there would be. I don't think there would be a lot of claims. I think there would be a claim or two on him.
Well, we know one's if Kevin
one's in the NFC South.
Yeah, if Kevin gets his way, if Matt Ryan allows Kevin, he's claiming him for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
There's no two ways about it. But I just don't know that Matt Ryan will have an interest in claiming him. Although, right now, there's a good chance that they might, because the Falcons do have a lot of injuries. Tua's and Michael Penix, nobody really knows what's going on there. Who's healthy, who's not. So realistically, if I'm Andrew Berry, the best case scenario would be that Dillon Gabriel played really well against the Bills, and you could be like, the following Monday after that game, be like, hey, all of the 31 teams, did you
get a 6th-round pick for him?
Did you see Dillon this Saturday?
Yeah.
Did you see Dillon light up the lakefront? That'd be great, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
but
neither do I. And then I think Taylor Green, I want to say Monken said he's playing in the third preseason game, and the third preseason game only.
Yeah, well, I think, because what Shador's going to get the whole half, I guess?
I would imagine so. I mean, the Albatross got the whole half this past Saturday. I know they treat typically each preseason game differently, but if you're going to give them both a fair shot, which is what Monken is claiming that he's doing, then I think you give Sanders the entire half.
Yeah, which I believed for quite a while, but the last week or so, we'll have to see. We'll have to see this Saturday. I'm not making any judgments on that. Otherwise, I was going to say, there was a guy who impressed me Saturday, this corner, who had the interception for the Browns, Coates Jr., and he's picked off Watson a handful of times. I believe the fella's name is Michael Coates Jr. And the Browns desperately need a third corner behind Tyson and
Oh, like bad.
and Ward. And Todd Monken said it today. He's like, anybody who steps up can win the job because the rest of the guys have all stunk.
Oh, you're talking about Michael Coates?
Yeah.
It's Coates, yeah. Did you say Coates?
I said Coach Junior because I thought I saw Junior on
Okay,
his
I thought I heard you say Coach.
No, Coates.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
One thing that I will say, I think the Browns have a lot of talent in their starting 22. I really do.
Same.
But what I think we learned at Soldier Field on Saturday was this team's depth is razor thin. When you get past that first team, the fall off is more drastic than most NFL teams.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like what worries me, and I actually heard it on Carmen and Lima earlier today, as again we were recording Wednesday evening, was that like if Carson Schlesinger went out as he wasn't playing this past Saturday, like even just his presence alone, like the defense was getting what seemed like gashed up almost. Like
Yeah,
Winston Reed's obviously a decent special teamer, but like you cannot throw that dude out there and start at middle linebacker.
Yeah, like Easton Mascarenas Arnold seems like he's going to be the third linebacker. Again, good special teams
great
player.
special teamer.
I don't know, we'll see. I mean, the thing is they run so many nickel packages that your third linebacker really doesn't play that much. But like they lost last year, they had a good linebacker trio. They're live and I think losing Devin Bush was a bigger loss than people realize, for one. Number two, losing Jerome Baker, which is he still a free agent? Because after watching Saturday, I wouldn't mind signing him back.
I want to say I actually saw literally within the past like 2 weeks that he signed somewhere, but I'm going to look that up for you.
Yeah, I mean, that depth is razor thin. Once you get past Campbell and Ward, the corners are – I mean, now this Michael Coates was impressive, but like James Harden's nephew, he stinks. He's no good. There's just not a lot of depth.
Looks like he's still a free agent, Jerome Baker. Maybe I made that up then.
I would really think about dialing up the phone and seeing if he wants to run it back.
I wonder how much of Devin Bush's success was in like I wonder if that was a lot of Jim Schwartz, because that was the first time we had seen Devin Bush or the last 2 years play actually like good football in the NFL.
Yeah, both his best years in the NFL have absolutely been with the Browns.
Oh, without a doubt.
Those 2
years.
years.
I mean, you talk to Steelers fans, which we have a couple friends that are, like they could not stand Devin Bush in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he played really well. I will say the depth is razor thin. I would really think about calling up Jerome Baker. Or, I mean, I don't know corner-wise what's left out there, but, I mean, Michael Coates Jr., very, very nice job. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, he might win that third cornerback job. Not a credit to him, but also because there's nobody else who's any good.
Right.
Trey Avery, he's not that good. D'Angelo Ross, not very good. James Harden's nephew, he's awful. Yeah, I mean, there's nobody else. But and that's what I was listening to the post game show as I was driving on Saturday. I had a lengthy drive to make, and Tyvis Powell said that immediately. He goes, "We better hope that we're a healthy football team because this depth is
it's tough.
It's bad."
I think the only real depth, I mean, they have some pretty good defensive line depth for sure. And then I also think like safety depth they're not too bad at. Hickman, Delpit, and EMW. It really is when it comes to the corners and the linebackers, it gets thin. And even on the offensive line, I think it gets extremely thin too. Believe it or not, I think it's funny that like receiver last year was you didn't really have great starters and you didn't have great depth either. And now it seems like we might have some solid starters, but it seems like you have really good depth at receiver.
Oh, absolutely, because you're
obviously running back too.
You're going to figure that Cedric Tillman is not going to be a starter, and like him as a fourth or fifth guy is tremendous, I think.
Yeah, which I think realistically right now it seems like Tillman's going to be the fifth with the two rookies, Judy, and then it seems like Bond is probably the favorite for the fourth receiver.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Cedric Tillman this camp. In fact, I know I said Judy way back in the offseason because we did an episode on it where we were doing a summer episode of just previewing stuff to come, and now we're here.
Yep.
We're trending towards the fall. I did a whole thing about how I thought they were going to move on from Jerry Judy because of depth. I actually now, if you re-ask me that question today, I think it's Cedric Tillman. And I think you could actually get maybe a fifth or a sixth for Tillman, and I would do it probably because I just don't. I think he's too good, and he's not a special teams guy, and he's too good to be riding behind, I think.
Yeah, the only reason like I would not deal Tillman. I do think he's the most likely to be dealt, and I want to say I might have said that on a few episodes ago, just because I think it's going to be hard to get rid of that Judy contract. But the only reason I would not really look to move Tillman is like outside of Fannin and Boston, more so Boston, just because he's the only other receiver in that bunch, is that you got nobody else that can go up and get a jump ball.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if Boston gets hurt, you're strictly relying on Harold Fannin for jump balls.
Now, here's something that's interesting. So Tylan Wallace was signed pretty much to looks like to be a punt returner, but the way that KC handled punts on Saturday, is Tylan Wallace's spot now in jeopardy? Because I don't really know if he's here to be a receiver. I would assume he's more here. But let's say that he is. Tylan Wallace makes a lot more sense as a fit for a fifth guy than a Cedric Tillman would, because Tylan Wallace could contribute on special teams, and that's usually what you look at out of your fifth and sixth receivers.
Yeah, I also think Tylan Wallace actually played pretty decent on Saturday. Like, not necessarily when it came to receiving or anything like that, but he had a couple blocks that sprung some runs too. I know he had one specifically on the KC touchdown, which when you and I were together downtown, obviously, for that play. And, I mean, what a play by KC, honestly. You know, obviously.
KC's been awesome.
Yeah, he had a great first game. He had a great first game. Obviously, Boston wasn't involved too much. I'm not looking too much into that. You know, it's a half of football.
I think Boston's
against
be
a pretty
your
good secondary,
starter,
honestly.
because I think Boston might be your other starter, and KC's going to be your guy you're going to move around everywhere. Do you remember what they?
Yeah, I think KC's the Y, Boston's the X, and Judy's the Z. Like that's exactly how I see that playing out. And I think if you're going to have two of the receivers on the field at the same time, it's probably going to be Judy and KC, with Boston being the third. But I do think that KC is going to be the guy that's in the slot moving around. You're going to see him at a bunch of different spots in the offense.
Lining up in the backfield. Do you remember how they try to use like Elijah Moore as a gadget guy, and it just wasn't his game? Like,
yeah, they were force-feeding him the ball his first year.
Yeah, they were using him as a gadget guy. Line up in the backfield, do this, do that, run the ball. They did all this stuff, and it didn't fit him. I actually envision them using KC that exact same way this year, except I think KC can do all that stuff.
Yeah, I do too. And his punt return, obviously, you had said he did a good job on punt returns. His first punt return, the first time he touched the ball, I want to say it was a 30-yard punt return.
Right.
I know it was at least 25 yards.
So with all this being said, Tylan Wallace makes a lot more sense as a fifth. And then I would assume Gage Laverdane makes sense as a sixth because, again, fifth and sixth, what do you look for them? Special teams contributions. Both those guys can help you on special teams as gunners. You know, they can both return punts or kicks. You know, and I think KC will obviously probably be your primary punt returner, but I would assume you don't want him back there to return kicks too if he's going to be doing punts. So I would assume that Tylan Wallace or Gage Laverdane are your kick returners. So that's why I think those are your fifth and sixth guys. You just name the top four. I actually think, and I know it's crazy to say, unless something drastic happens or one of them gets hurt, I think the receiver room's set right now. Those are your six.
Okay, and you think Tillman's going to be on the move?
I think so, because I think he's the one who will provide most value to another team.
Yeah,
and again, I've repeated myself 18 times, but he doesn't have any special teams prowess or value.
Yeah, no, I think I do think Tillman's the most likely to be moved. I think, obviously, we know the four that are basically set in stone. I would keep Tillman. I would keep Tillman, and then I would also keep Tylan Wallace as well. I don't think Larverdane. You can find a Gage Larverdane anywhere. Like, truthfully, you can find a Gage Larverdane anywhere. Like, I mean, we were talking about this team last year. Like, if we're a competent football team, Gage Larverdane's not even rostered. Like, there's 5 teams that probably roster a Gage Larverdane. And right now, obviously, we would be one of them. But, like, there's nothing that Gage Larverdane does. And I'm not trying to hate on the kid at all. But there's nothing that he does that, even on special teams, I was never wowed by what he did, just because he has experience on special teams. I don't think it's a must that we have to keep him on the roster.
Yeah, I just think the fit makes more sense though, Kevin, because you think Cedric Tillman's never done anything on special teams in his NFL career. So like, in your fifth and sixth, and even if hypothetically,
you can also have like Dylan Sampson return kicks a few times last year. I would like Dylan Sampson in that role if Judkins is going to be pretty much an every down back outside of like 3rd and 5 and longers. Like I would rather have Sampson back there on kick returns.
The other thing I think of is that now that I think about it, your fifth, a lot of times your sixth is a healthy scratch.
Yep.
So I would just envision that Gage Laverdane.
Couldn't you see Tylan Wallace being a healthy scratch guy though?
I feel like to your point, I'd have him as a 5, and then I can see Gage Laverdane being the healthy.
Yeah, but you only have him as a 5 because you don't have Tillman in there.
Yeah, because I think Tillman's gone.
I know, but I'm saying like if it were me, I mean, if you can get something for Tillman, and I'm saying like.
Yeah, but to your point,
an early day 3 pick, like I'm talking at a 4th rounder. Like I'm not sending Tillman for a 5th. I don't think.
Yeah, but to your point, let's say that Tylan Wallace is a healthy scratch guy. Cedric Tillman's your 5. That does you no good because he's not able to help you on special teams, which is the job of the 5th receiver.
Yeah, but the job of the 5th receiver doesn't always have to be to return kicks and return punts. And if I'm going to I understand that, but also that can be what your 5th and 6th corners are for one of your safeties are for. Like it doesn't. Your gunners do not specifically have to be receivers.
No, they don't. That's a fair point.
Like not at all. Like I would actually argue that I would rather have a corner or a backup safety as a gunner because they have experience tackling.
Yeah, I remember last year the Browns special teams got so bad they started putting all the starters out there. Like I remember
Grant Delpit played so much.
No, Grant Delpit won Special Teams Player of the Week one time.
Grant Delpit. I mean, that guy was like dry heaving walking off on the field sometimes.
No, and so did Schlesinger because I remember it got to the point where, from my bird's eye view in Section 529, that the Browns defense would give up let's say a touchdown or a field goal, and literally like 6 of the 11 guys would not come off the field because they'd have to then cover the kick.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. And I don't want that again this year. I want guys who can actually do it.
Same.
And new special teams coordinator. We'll see what Byron Storr has in store.
Nice.
So I think that's it on the Browns, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've got really too much anything else to say about the Brownies. I guess
the joint practices, this is where we can really...
Well, Todd Monken did call one early the other day. He called the practice early. Did you hear about that?
Because they were fighting.
Because he was mad about the physicality of the defense going up against the first teams, and he just basically said, or I should say against the offense, and he basically said Browns should protect Browns, and that's all I'll say about it. So the play that ended up ending practice was Jared Verse had grabbed Quinshon Judkins and his guardian cap had come off.
No, I think it was Aiden Huntington.
No, it was Verse.
Oh.
I know Huntington was involved in one of them. There was another player who I'm blanking on the name of. I think it was like a 3rd or 4th stringer who's probably not going to be on the team. He had hit Shador, and Monken got pissed and like basically kicked him out of practice.
Yeah, now Todd Monken said today they asked him, well, every one of these joint practices has turned into a fight. So I think these guys get so sick of facing each other, they just see a jersey that's not brown or orange on the other side, and they're like, yeah, I want to square up. That's what these joint practices turn into. And they asked Monken about that today. He's like, what about the fights? Like, are you and Joe Brady going to be able to stop it? And he's like, I mean, it is what it is. He's like, if they want to fight, they're going to fight. He's like, obviously, he's like, we don't want them to come up here and, to be a wrestling match. That's not why Buffalo's coming here. But I think this will be a good where it really are the Browns, because you see the Browns getting a ton of national love. A ton right now. Everybody, they're a really talented roster that just doesn't have a quarterback. That's like all you keep hearing.
They get the love like this, what feels like every year or every other year.
And and so they're getting all the hoopla is centered around the Browns. But Buffalo, you can make fun of them for, yes, they're 4 straight Super Bowl losses in the 90s. Yes, they're like a bagillion straight heartbreakers in the playoffs the last, 8 years now? 8 to 10 years?
Probably going on that.
Yeah, you can make fun of them for that, but they are consistently an AFC powerhouse with like the best or second best quarterback in the game. So I think this is a good barometer. Is the Browns hoopla real, or is it a bunch of hogwash and horse shit? We're going to find out I would think, with these joint practices, not so much the game. The game's also going to be hogwash and horse shit.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on the fighting comment you had made, like with the coaches. I do think it's funny because I feel like the coaches are like, we don't want to see, players scrums or anything. I know Monken had said, that's part of the game sometimes is you get a little physical, and it's nice to see that passion sometimes, which it is. But he's like, you never want to see fights break out and stuff. But then, as soon as a Browns player gets dogged by a Bills player, there's going to be Browns coaches going, come on, you're going to let a Buffalo Bill come into your training camp and push you around, and then a fight's going to break out, and the coaches are going to be pissed about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it works.
No, I don't disagree. So we'll find out. That all kicks off tomorrow out there at the Cross Country Mortgage Campus
That's right.
tomorrow afternoon. If you wanted to go to see training camp in the public, well, too bad. Sorry. Public practices are over now.
Yeah.
You'll have to go to a game. And let's talk about the NFL as a whole. Roger Goodell was on I can't remember if it was a French or a German podcast or radio show. Let's just say a form of media in Europe so that I don't get it wrong. Let's just generalize it. Either way, he made some comments about how eventually the plan is at this point to have a full division of teams in Europe. I wonder, one, how does that work logistically? Like, would let's use the Browns as an example because they're our team and who we talk about almost every show. Would the Browns just go out there for like a month and then just parade around Europe? Like, I'm going to hypothetically say, let's just take the big cities over there. What are they going to have? A team in London, I would almost assume for sure. They've been playing games there for 20 years. I would assume a team in Germany, in Berlin, probably because they've been playing games there. I'm going to say maybe Ireland.
That's one I was thinking of too.
Dublin, and maybe, I don't know. Have they had a game in France yet? In Paris? Probably. Maybe I'm forgetting.
I don't know. I know the NBA's played in Paris.
I don't know, but either way, would the Browns literally just like parade and prance around Europe for an hour?
Well, at that point, you'd have to name it the Global Football League.
Yeah,
at that point.
I know that.
I'm personally, man, like I hate the idea of it. Like I don't think people that are born in, like Nebraska or something and end up being tough enough and good enough to go to the NFL and then get drafted by a team in Europe. And then you got to uproot your entire life, not just to a different state, but a different country,
different continent.
Yeah, yes, different continent. Like I think it's absolutely absurd.
I get it.
It's obviously they don't have the fans' interest or the players' interest in this. They have their money interest involved.
Well, I also think Europe. If Roger Goodell lived under a rock, Europe just came here and bombarded our country for the World Cup. Well, not our continent, I should say, because Mexico and Canada hosted too. Mm-hmm. They don't give a shit about American football. I don't know what they see now. Their argument's going to be that they sell a shitload of tickets and they've sold out every game in London. They've been having the London games for over 20 years. I can still remember the first London game I watched in 2005. They have been having those for over 20 years, but they're also a novelty. Like, and what Roger Goodell has to understand is they're just looking at the bottom line. Sure, they're selling a shitload of tickets, but let's think about who's buying those tickets. People who've never seen American football who look at it and say, oh, cool, something to do I've never seen. I don't have to go to North America for it. It's here. Why not give it a try? And
it's one game a week.
Also, how many people do we know that I know personally that you know that went to London last year when the Browns played there? Like, what you have to factor, it's a lot of people who domestically are traveling out to that continent for those games. And yes, it's a novelty right now because they play, I think, like, now it's up to, 10 or 12 international games a year. It seems like there's a London or a Germany game almost every Sunday for the whole middle portion of the schedule, which I know being, fantasy owners got to pay more attention because then you have a kickoff at 9 or 8:30 in the morning typically. But I just don't. I know it's a novelty right now, especially like Germany last year. Like they went crazy, and it almost seems like they've been there for 20 years. Like the London games to the natives in London do not have the kind of draw that they did when they first went over there. So if they're already losing interest and they're only there a segmented portion of the calendar year, imagine having a home team there. They're not going to give a shit by week 12. And then imagine if the
Well, I
teams,
agree.
imagine if the teams like the Browns or Jets, you're going to be playing in an empty Wembley Stadium or wherever over there.
I couldn't agree more.
So I just think that, yes, from a bottom line dollar point of view, I can see why they're going to do it. But don't be so greedy and think of the long-term picture, and it may not work out for you, Raj.
Actually, some breaking news on the pod right now. Cleveland related. Shams Charania. Cleveland Cavaliers, Denver Nuggets, and Los Angeles Clippers three-way trade. Sending Peyton Watson to Cleveland, Max Strus to Los Angeles, and an unprotected 2031 Cavs first-round pick and a 2032 Kings second-rounder to the Nuggets. Peyton Watson will sign a new 4-year, $88 million deal to join the Cavs, plus a player option and a trade kicker. Wow.
It's a lot of money.
Some breaking news on the CSR.
It's a lot of money.
So the Cavs basically trade Max Strus and a future first-round pick all the way out to 2031 for Peyton Watson.
It's a lot. Guys, a lot of pressure on him to be really good.
He does, and this is the move that we've been waiting for. Like the move that the Cavs have waited for the entire offseason ever since the King made his decision to go to Philly.
Do you think James Harden still re-signs here now?
Yes.
Okay.
I think this is what he was waiting for.
Okay.
So now the Cavs are going to roll out a starting five, presumably, of James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Peyton Watson, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen, with no Max Strus.
Yeah, Max Strus always played well in the playoffs here.
Always did. I was actually really hoping that he could be one of the guys off the bench for us.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. And Peyton Watson, 23 years old, just went 15-5-2, just under 50% shooting from the field. Small forward and shooting guard. Obviously, he brings size at 6'8", and he just shot 41% from three with just averaging about 4 attempts a game. So a guy that's going to stretch the floor for you, and with his size, you would assume plays relatively decent defense. So that's a ginormous move for the Cavs for now, and honestly, with his age being at 23, that's a big move for the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have many.
And slides right into the starting role.
They didn't have many chips left to move around the poker table.
No.
So this was the one that we had heard about that had been rumored. It has happened.
It was between him or Jonathan Kuminga was what the rumors were.
Yeah. Now, I thought Jonathan Kuminga, he hasn't signed or.
To my knowledge, he has not signed anywhere.
Didn't the Cavs sign somebody else, though? I know they brought back Thomas Bryant, but they signed somebody else. Oh, they traded for Trey Mann to be their backup point guard.
Yeah, which all of the rumors were that it was to clear up room, and we're assuming it's probably for this deal.
Well, it was.
So I want to say the Cavs had to send a pick in that deal as well.
Which kind of sucks.
And
because
cash.
If you look at it, they lost Dennis Schroeder, who was effective for them last year, for a worser player. But they had to clear money.
Yeah. They
Which
had to clear
sucks.
money.
So you also essentially traded Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah,
for
I was
this guy.
just going to say that. Yeah,
because Trey Mann stinks.
Yeah, I mean he is what he is. You know, maybe Tyrese Proctor gets some playing time now this year. Honestly,
I think there's got to be a battle for the backup point
because
guard
I mean
job.
Tyrese Proctor brings some good size too and plays some okay defense. He makes up for it with his size.
I'll give that fat guy who's followed LeBron around since he was 12 and made a career out of it a lot of credit here, Brian Windhurst.
Yeah,
he had said, the Cavs deal, they make their moves late. He goes, remember, when they traded for Donovan Mitchell, it wasn't until like week 2 or 3 of the NFL season.
Yeah.
So he's like, don't rule them out from doing something big. And this is something big. Well, Kevin, is it going to make a damn bit of difference, though? That's my question to you.
I think the Cavs are a better team after this deal, and Chris Haynes just tweeted that it's going to end up being a 5-team deal. It did not say who the other 2 teams were.
Oh, my guess would be the Hornets because that trade never officially got reported, did it? The Dennis Schroeder for trade.
I thought it did.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Some other money will move around and.
Yeah, but I think the Cavs are still probably around the 4th or 5th best team in the East now. Like, I still don't think they're up there with the Knicks or Philly. And I think the Celtics, they're still probably the Celtics and the Cavs are around the same tier as I've said before. And I think the Raptors are still right around there. I haven't even said the Pistons yet, and the Pacers are coming back healthy. So it's going to be a very interesting, and I didn't even include the Miami Heat in there, adding Giannis. So it's going to be a very competitive East after the first 2 seeds.
I don't think Miami's going to be any good because they really don't have anything else besides Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis and Bam is pretty much it. But still, those are 2 big names. You would figure they're going to be involved in the play-in tournament, probably the top end of that play-in tournament, around seeds 7 or 8.
And I'd hold my horses on Philly because I think the best 2 players are. I think Maxi's phenomenal. Embiid's only going to play a dozen games.
Yeah, you've been on this.
LeBron is 42 years old. Let's not forget. Going on 43.
You said if the Cavs added LeBron, it puts him over the top. So you can't change that with the Philly thing.
No. It does. If he stays healthy, it'll make Philly very effective. But I don't know how well that group's going to mesh together. And then don't forget Jaylen Brown's there.
Yeah, I still think even if they don't mesh together instantly, I still think that they're an Eastern Conference team if they don't face Philly beforehand. Or face New York, excuse me.
I think the Knicks are the best team in the conference still.
Yeah, they just won the title. Yeah, I don't think you're nuts for saying that at all.
So, one last little bit piece of news that I think I want to cover. I was wrong. I said that David Fry would never be back. Well, I didn't realize Reese Hoskins would play poor enough that they'd make up a back injury for him and be forced to bring David Fry back. But I don't know if you saw, David Fry was absolutely tearing it up for the Clippers. Tearing it up.
Yeah, quad A.
So, yep. So he's back. Reese Hoskins, because they said his leadership's so important, which I don't doubt. So good for them. They made up a back injury for him. And, he'll now sit around with lower back inflammation, and he could wave pom-poms and be a good leader. And Joe Adell last night had
unbelievable.
The game of games. Man amongst boys last night.
I want to say that they said that was the furthest home run he's ever hit in his career.
Yeah,
it only took him about, 2.5 weeks?
I'm going to say right now, the only
with the organization?
Like, in recent memory, I'm going to say the last 5 years, because I know there were some. Mark Reynolds used to put him up there all the time years and years ago. But in the last 5 years, the only 2 people I remember putting balls that far in Progressive Field were like Aaron Judge and Mike Napoli.
Yeah.
I guess that'd be the last 10 years. Either way, that was a game. How about Angel Hanao? He's been
phenomenal.
Just what the doctor ordered.
Phenomenal.
Quick question, though, before we get out of here. Has Bazana struggled enough now the last month that you think about sending him back down? Some of the greats have gone back down. Mike Trout went back down. People forget.
With how well Hano's playing, you can plug him right in there. The only thing is that if Hano keeps playing as great as he is and you bring Bazana up, where do you start playing everybody again? I don't know. The conundrum you find yourself in there. But, at this point, the Cavs, the Guardians really have to hone in and play to win. Like, this is not game 30 anymore. This is not game 35 anymore. Like, we're rounding third and heading home right now.
Oh, yeah.
For all intents and purposes. So,
and you have to take advantage of this stretch against shit teams. Like,
yes.
They started off good last night, beating the crap out of the Giants. And they have and the Pirates did you a big favor by taking 2 out of 3 from the Tigers. The Cubs have been helping you out this week too. You need to take advantage. And as I say that, they are down 1-0 to the crappy ass Giants right now.
Who's pitching for the Giants?
Tugboat.
Yeah.
And Patrick Bailey's not even in the lineup tonight.
Oh, the Guardians with the cowardly move. They didn't want Tugboat to outplay Pat Bailey when it came to hitting versus pitching.
Bazana does have a double tonight, so that's nice.
Keep him up. You got to keep him up.
Oh, okay. 1 double made your decision. No, honestly, this is awful to be losing to this team in this circumstance. God, I don't know what to say, because you need sweeps. It doesn't. You have to be. In this current stretch against garbage teams you're in, you need at least to go like 9-3 at minimum. 10-2 is what you really need.
Yeah, you think 8-4 is acceptable at all?
No,
You don't?
no.
Twice the amount of wins as losses right now?
No, and not with who you're playing, and not with how tight this wild card race is. 8-4 is not acceptable. It won't get the job done. You have the Giants, the Rockies, and the Angels.
Which, by the way, it was nice to see the game of Foster Griffin the other night, honestly.
Excellent.
Honestly,
And
for his first game being as bad as it was.
And then, oh, by the way, then after that, the Royals. So, sorry.
Which those games, those start meaning a lot more. Those in division, those in league games.
This whole stretch means a ton.
No, I know, but there are games that mean more than others. There are.
I would argue this stretch will define your season. You go 6-6 on this stretch.
I think I heard this from you 60 games ago.
You're not making the playoffs. Well, the only reason they still even have a remote chance, I was right about them being done 60 theoretically.
Come on.
It's a matter of the American League is historically bad. It's the only reason they still have any stones throw in hell
Sure.
of doing anything. Anyhow, that's it. We've got to go.
Yeah.
So if you made it through the whole thing, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate you listening to us for an hour, or just over an hour.
Just over an hour.
An hour and a little bit of change.
Nice. It was the first time I think we've had breaking news on the pod since the James Harden trade.
It's always the Cavs. They break the news.
It is always
for
the
us.
Cavs that break it live.
So Peyton Watson's a Cav. We'll have to get into more of that next week because it kind of
we didn't plan for that this week.
No, it was not in our itinerary. But thank you very much for listening again. Videos on YouTube and Spotify, audios on Apple Podcast and Spotify. The socials are at CLE Sports Realm, and the socials are Twitter, Instagram,
and TikTok at CLE Sports Realm. And then, like Jerome said at the beginning of the podcast, like it, subscribe to us, put those notifications on.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you next week on the Cleveland Sports Realm. Have a great rest of your week. Adios.
Go Tribe.